Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Sulky Show. Now, just look at this all-star cast we've got for you. It's like a Hollywood epic, this week's edition of the Sulky Show. We've got, of course, my sidekick, or her sidekick. It's Sarah Thomas.
Hello.
How are you, Sarah?
I'm good, thank you, Darren. How are you?
Very good, and of course you're embracing the theme of things now. We've got Little Brown Jug, America's biggest event. So you've got the Stars and Stripes. You're donning the Stars and Stripes for us.
Yeah, this was a planned outfit. For once in my life, I have actually dressed, for the occasion. So yeah, Stars and Stripes, Team America.
Yeah, and we are joined by multiple champion trainer here in GB, the one and only Alexis Laidler. Alexis, how are you?
Good, thank you. Hi, nice to be on the show.
Big week for you, of course, with the Crock of Gold.
Yes, very exciting.
Yeah, some big chances at Tir Prince, and the one and only, the man they call the Voice, the legend himself, harness racing's greatest ambassador, Roger Huston. How are you, Roger?
I'm fine, and I'll tell you, it is a pleasure to be with Darren, Sarah, and Alexis, because you guys don't know how much I missed coming to Ireland this year. With everything that's going on, I'm so happy that you called and I get to be a part of this broadcast today. Thank you ever so much.
No, we thank you. It really means an awful lot. And of course, the next 7 days mean an awful lot to you, Roger. The Little Brown Jug, Delaware, Ohio.
I just got home from vacation. The family went to Deep Creek Lake in Maryland for 4 days and got home here Tuesday night. And Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are the longest days of the year because of the fact I'm waiting to get to Delaware Saturday morning. I got some things to do to prepare for the TV broadcast and things like that, and some interviews. And racing coming up Sunday. The period of days leading up to Delaware getting started Sunday through Thursday are the longest days there are, because I'm so anxious to get to Delaware, Ohio. It's been my life for 54 years, and I even go back further than that because my first jug was in 1958 when I was just a teenager, skipping school to go to the Little Brown Jug, and I haven't missed one since 1958, and getting to call it starting in 68. Dream come true.
So you've called the Little Brown Jug since 1968?
Yeah, my first year there was 1967, and I did the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday broadcast. The announcer previously for the Jug was a guy by the name of Charlie Hinkle, and he went to California to be the play-by-play announcer for a new ABA basketball team in Los Angeles, owned by Pat Boone, the singer. And so Hank Thompson at Delaware was up the creek without a paddle to get an announcer for the Jug in 67. Stan Bergstein happened to be there the day that Charlie told Hank he couldn't make it. Bergstein says, I can do the Jug, and I got hired to do the first 3 days, announce some races on Jug Day in 67, but in 68, I've been the full-time announcer right up until this year as well.
So tell us, Roger, for those who don't know, you're racing from Sunday, so it's 5 days racing?
5 days of racing. We race Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The big days, of course, are Wednesday and Thursday. The Jugette for 3-year-old fillies, and you got a horse from your neck of the woods, or owned by people, Mr. Hill, a heavy favorite, and she's undefeated this year, and so that's the Jugette on Wednesday, and then of course we got the Little Brown Jug then on Thursday.
And the horses that are running over the 5 days, so would you be familiar with a great many of these, or are there horses that you don't really see on a regular basis turning up for this meeting?
This year's a bit different because I quit my job at the Meadows back in November of last year and took a position with the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association. And working with the Ohio Harness Horsemen Association, I've become quite familiar with a lot of the Ohio breds that have been racing at the major racetracks in the Buckeye State and at the county fairs. And so those horses that will be racing at Delaware, I'm more familiar with than I have been in past years. As far as the horses nationally for the Jug and the Jugette, probably haven't called too many of them this year, but I'm familiar with who more than likely will be in the fields and such. But that's a strange thing. We won't know who's going to be in the field until Sunday for the Jugette, and Monday they draw for the Little Brown Jug. So right now we just don't know who the participants will be.
And you know, I was reading your excellent book, Roger, and there's a chapter in here that's devoted to the county fairs. And you know, you actually say in here that the county fairs play a big part and have played a big part in your life.
I started out as a county fair announcer, 1960. I had 5 county fairs, and by 1965, I think I had 17 different county fairs all over the state. And there's only about 65 county fairs, and I had 17 of them in those days. And I got hired at the Red Mile in Lexington that same year, and my career really turned around when I got hired to work at Delaware, Ohio. And the one thing about working at Delaware and such, I think that's responsible for going everywhere in the world. 9 countries we've announced that. And I don't think if I hadn't had the Jug, I probably would have never made it to Sweden, Norway, Finland, Wales, and Ireland, Australia. But announcing the Jug, that's a worldwide event, and put me on the list to be guests at various racetracks.
And you were saying that you quit your job at the Meadows late last year. So how much calling have you actually done this year?
267 races, to be pretty exact. Normally I do around somewhere around 2,600 a year. So if we hadn't have had the COVID-19, I probably would be somewhere around 750 to 1,000 races right now. But with that, a lot of the fairs that I have done have had reduced number of races. Some of the fairs actually got canceled and they didn't even have racing at. And so 267 races this year could have been a little higher, but going into this year, I expected to do about 1,000. I'll probably come out of it somewhere around 500.
Now, over here in Great Britain with our harness race meetings and the other sports, including thoroughbred racing, there are no crowds permitted. It's purely and simply owners, trainers, drivers, grooms, officials. What is going to be the situation at Delaware over the next few days?
Well, until last week, there was going to be no spectators and no owners. Finally, an agreement was made by the State Racing Commission in cooperation with the Health Department and Delaware County, the Delaware Fair Board. They are going to permit owners on the day that their horse is racing, and that owner can bring 1 guest. So we could have somewhere around 200, 250 people as owners and guests at the races, because we'll have probably somewhere around 120, 135, 40 horses racing per day at Delaware. And a lot of those owners won't be able to make it, but the ones that can will be there with a guest, and that'll be our crowd this year. You have horsemen that are stabled on the grounds year-round at Delaware. Of course, the trainers and the caretakers of those horses will be there. Officials, staff of the Delaware County Fair Board will be there. The media has been limited. The number of photographers has been limited as well by the state of Ohio and the Racing Commission. Overall, we could maybe expect a crowd somewhere around 500 or 600 people on a given day, especially on Wednesday and Thursday.
But of course, it will be broadcast off course. There'll be several networks taking the big races and the meeting, and there'll be off course wagering.
the simulcast broadcasts will go to something like 75 to 100 simulcast facilities all over North America. A lot of the wagering platforms, Racetrack Television, RTN, will be broadcasting the races. It'll be on the Dish Network on their racing channel. Facebook Live by the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association will be broadcasting all 5 days, and a radio station in Delaware will be doing a radio broadcast all 5 days. So the audience for those three things could be as high as 100 to 150,000 people seeing the race or listening to it. With this Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association I'm working with now, we have started broadcasting the county fair races here in the state of Ohio. And on some days, we have as many of 30,000 people we reach in a broadcast from, let's say that today they're broadcasting from Upper Sandusky. And I checked after 2 races, we've already reached over 11,000 people on that broadcast today. And viewership, you can't really tell how long they're going to be watching the broadcast. And I got to mention this. We have a number of viewers in Sweden, Finland, Norway, Wales, and in Ireland. Especially, we have a driver over here by the name of Emma Wahlberg from Sweden. And I think her entire family and all of her friends watch each day that she's racing at a county fair in Ohio. And you can watch races as well on Facebook, the OHHA broadcast.
Well, I think we all know a few people are actually doing that. In fact, what I can tell you, Roger, that Guy John Edwards from Tregaron, he's a regular, and he quite often has friendly side bets with a couple of our big supporters, Melanie and David Danbridge. So it is a popular show over here.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear it, because we actually are doing about 75 dates this year. We hope next year. We bought a second broadcast equipment crew, and we'll hope to next year do like 150 broadcasts. And I'm proud to say that the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association was the first organization to start streaming races in the world, to our knowledge. And it has grown leaps and bounds. Pennsylvania is now doing it. New Jersey's doing it. New York's doing it. I see you're doing some over there as well. And it's become the thing, all due to COVID-19. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the only thing good about COVID-19. We've been able to reach some people by way of these broadcasts that are not normal fans of harness racing. So we have increased the fan base thanks to COVID-19.
Now, you're talking about Tom Hill. He's got a big chance in the Jugettes. And we've got his namesake here. 2 party girls with us here. Party Girls, the name of the horse. We've got 2 party girls here on the show, both with their G&Ts. Yeah, I could just about see the glasses. Party Girl, you say it'll take some beating in the Jugette, Roger?
I don't know how many we'll have for the Jugette, but she will definitely be the favorite. I think she's 9 for 9 or 10 for 10, something like that this year. She's undefeated. She'll definitely be the favorite. And the wildest thing is, Mr. Hill won the race 10 years ago. And now he's got this filly 10 years later in the Jugette, the same date. And the rest of the story, this Wednesday is Tom Hill's birthday.
He's celebrating his 70th birthday this year, is that right?
Right, I think so.
Yeah.
The wildest thing is, I've developed what I call Roger's laws when I'm doing the TV show. And one of my laws is you always win a harness race on your birthday. So good luck, Mr. Hill.
Yeah, Western Sulky course 10 years ago. I was in the winner's circle after the race with him. Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
I should mention that this is the 75th year for the Little Brown Jug and the 50th year for the Jugette.
Right, excellent, absolutely. Now, I've been looking at one or two of the stars on the pacing circuit. Would I be right in saying Tall Dark Stranger could be a leading light next week?
He will not be at Delaware.
Will he not be in Delaware?
No, they chose to go elsewhere and race. A lot of these trainers are scared of two-heat racing on a half-mile track. To me, it's a shame that harness racing has become a sport where trainers only want to race on a mile track. The judgment of a true champion was somebody that could race on a half mile, 5/8, and a mile track. That's no longer the case. They want to stay on a mile track. They think post positions are so bad. On a half mile track, if you get a bad post position, you don't have a chance. But there have been a few horses win from post 8 at Delaware. So that's not a total happening. The purse at Delaware this year is going to be $700,000. Tall Dark Stranger is going to race for $300,000 at the Red Mile. That don't make sense to me.
No.
But they say because of the breed and the fine tuning of that and the fact that they're going so much faster, they don't want to race them 2 heats. I'm a traditionalist. The Jug will always be a 2-heat race. I'm on the Jug Society as well. And the last time it was come up for a vote, I believe, it was something like 27-1 to continue with 2 heats. So we're a long way from doing away with that 2-heat battle on Jug Day. And that's what draws the fans to the racetrack. They love to see a battle like that. I mean, the Red Mile will have an attendance of 1,500 to 3,000. At Delaware, we can get 45,000 people standing around a half-mile track. Can you imagine 45,000 people standing around Port Monarch for the Delaney Memorial? Can you imagine 45,000? We got 45,000 people at Delaware.
Can you imagine how bad the queue at the bar would be if there was 45,000 people at Port Monarch? That's my greatest concern. How would I get a drink?
You know, we have seating probably for, I'd guess maybe 10,000. That means 35,000 people standing around the racetrack. It's just a sight that you can't imagine until you've been there. And you got to be at the Jug to understand what's going on. And the other thing is, all the major races normally are held on Saturday. We get 45,000 people on a Thursday afternoon, 25 miles away from downtown Columbus, Ohio. A Thursday afternoon, 45,000 people. And it's because of the Jug and the history of that horse race.
It's absolutely amazing, the whole occasion. I mean, it's such a long day. You start racing about 11 a.m., you go through till about 6 p.m. Regarding this year's race, Roger, we don't know the fields at the moment. Just throw 1 or 2 names our way that we should be looking out for next week that are likely to turn up.
Well, you know my relationship with Mike Wilder. Dear friend, his entire family. I call Heather my adopted daughter. He has a horse by the name of Catch the Fire for John Ackley of here in Washington Courthouse, Ohio. They won the Adios back in late July. He, I think, will be the favorite to win the Little Brown Jug. And probably I'll feel like I'm sitting in the sulky with Mike the entire race because I want him to do well. And I think he'll be the favorite, and he's definitely going to be in the Jug.
Now, you've got your two biggest female fans in Great Britain on the show. Now, I'm sure you guys have got questions for Roger. What would you like to ask Roger?
Don't be bashful.
Awkward silence. Awkward silence. I'm still sitting here thinking about the crowd. I was actually, Roger, when I came over to say in America, obviously came to the Meadows to see you. After that, John and me drove down to Lexington, but we stopped via Delaware. Obviously, there was nothing going on there. It was completely empty. There was just a couple of horsemen kicking about in the afternoon. but I just wanted to go and see what the track was like, just, you know, in the flesh kind of thing. And it was an incredible place to stand and imagine how much atmosphere is there during Jug Week and on Jug Day in particular, because it was you know, deathly silent when I was there. There was nobody there. I mean, I walked the track. I don't know, maybe I was trespassing, but I walked the track. I went in the infield. I think I was Facebook Live and I was touching some sort of shrubbery that said Little Brown Jug or something, which was probably inappropriate. If I'd got caught, probably would have got turfed out of there. But it's to hear you speak about it so passionately as well. Like, obviously, Darren said you're a massive ambassador for harness racing worldwide, but to hear you speak so passionately about a specific race and a specific venue, it just makes me want to go there even more. And it's been on my bucket list for like the last couple of years. I met a couple of people in Ohio when I was over there, and they keep saying, you know, you've got to come back for the Jug, you've got to come back. Things haven't allowed for that this year. Maybe it won't be the case next year, but definitely at some point now you've really got me kind of revved up. I'm definitely going to go to the Jug in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
I really mean this when I say this. People have not experienced a great thrill, a thrill that is unsurpassed, not to be at Delaware, Ohio once in their lifetime. One year there was, I think it was in 1995, a group of 15, I think, from Ireland were at the Little Brown Jug, and I partied with them for a while back in the orchard at their trailer. I didn't do as much partying as they did, as you can imagine. Rory McNulty, he brought a group of 6 or 8 over to the Jug a few years back. We've had groups from Australia. One year there were something like a party group of 75 that came from Australia to watch that race. Canadians, they won't be able to come this year, but normally 50% of the crowd is from Canada. It's on everybody's bucket list. If you like county fair racing, if you like any type of harness racing, it's got to be on your bucket list to be to Delaware. There's not a more beautiful racetrack in the world than Delaware. You saw it when they weren't even racing, and it was, I don't know, it was, what, you were there, what, July?
I think, yeah, I think it was October.
Was it October? Okay, it was after the Jug, but no crowd. The flowers weren't out and everything like that. You saw the bare knuckle Little Brown Jug, Delaware County Fairgrounds. And even then, I think you admit, it was a beautiful sight.
It really was. It was an incredible place to be at, knowing what it could be like and what it is like when racing's there. But equally, it was a really lovely track just to visit and be able to get up close to. It's a lovely venue to be at. I just hope I can get back when there's 45,000 people there and I've got a clear run to the bar.
Now, if we can just get Alexis Laidler to get a wingling or something nominated to the Jug and make it through the 2-year-old season and then send it to the United States and be eligible for the Little Brown Jug.
That would be good.
My career would be made if Alexis Laidler was racing a horse at Delaware.
My career would be made if I was racing a horse at the Little Brown Jug. Yeah, we were hoping to come this year. I spoke to you last year about coming over, and it's definitely something we've always wanted to do, but it's in the middle of our race time and we have a short season to race. But we were definitely coming this year, and I spoke to you earlier about that, but things being as they are, we're going to have to put it on hold for another year.
Well, don't put it on hold too long. First year you get a chance, come on over.
Yeah, next year hopefully.
Alexis, I mean, you're having great success in North America, admittedly, you know, across the border in Canada, you know, with Matty and with Gunner, and you've had it with Laneside Lexus in the past. I mean, just tell us about what that means to you, racing in Canada, the likes of Mohawk.
Oh gosh, to race at Mohawk was unreal. The track itself, I remember the first time we took Son of a Gun and a horse that we claimed, which Sarah and John were part of, State of Play. We took them to train at Mohawk, and I was lucky enough to obviously not get Son of a Gun to train, but was on State of Play, and it was just a big thing to be even able to drive a mile around there as a trainer. The track was it was minus 10 degrees, and the track was so soft you couldn't even hear the horse's feet on it. So well maintained, and everything was immaculate and pristine, and it was just to even train a mile on there for me was amazing. And the night Son of a Gun won for us was a big thing for me.
And what's the latest regarding Matty and Gunner?
So Matty's in to race this weekend again. He's got a tough race. Son of a Gun has had a 3-week break. He got just a very mild infection in his hock, nothing serious, but this time of the year you need to be really on top of your game, and if you're only racing at 90%, then you won't be competitive in the level that those two horses are racing at the minute. So with that in mind, with him not being 100%, we decided while the weather was still good to give him a little rest. He's an older horse, we want to look after him, give him a little break, train him back, and hopefully have him ready end of October, beginning of November to go again. But Meticulous is racing so good at the minute. I mean, he's finishing either first or second in the Open, and he's just running out of his skin, as was Son of a Gun before he finished. I really couldn't be prouder of the 2GB boys. I never expected them to race. I expected them to win and to do good, but I never expected them to be competitive and winning in the Open and the Preferred at Mohawk. That's just blows your mind, really.
It's a feather in your cap. It's a feather in British harness racing's cap. And of course, there are other horses that have been winning races regularly in North America over the last few months. I'm sure Roger's seen a few of them.
Yes, those 6 that were purchased by the Burke stable, they have done quite well. Of course, they fit lower classifications when they first came, and they went right up the ladder, and they're still racing competitively over here in the States. And I'll tell you, with Evenwood and Meticulous and everything, you don't know how thrilled I am as an individual to have called those races over there with those horses, and to see them at the top of their game right here in Canada and here in the United States. I think of the 8 horses I'm thinking about, I think I've called 5 of them with wins when I was overseas, and dream come true to see those horses come to the States. And I think more people in Europe should take advantage of racing over here in the States, because you do have competitive horses there, and they'll fit in over here in the States.
Yeah. We've got 2 more coming next week.
What's going next week, Alexis?
So Mikey Camden and Tea Time Preacher are both leaving next week. So they should be racing. Hopefully around the same time Son of a Gun will be ready. They should be ready to qualify, hopefully a couple of weeks, and Rocker and I, well, the circumstances being, if we can get over, we'll go over and stay with them a little bit and see how they come on.
Now, you mentioned Mikey Camden because he's one member of your 3-pronged attack on the Crock of Gold. Now, the Crock of Gold, sum up the Crock of Gold, Alexis, what it actually means to you as a professional trainer, the Crock of Gold. We may not be racing for 100, 200, 300,000 purses, but what does the Crock of Gold mean in terms of prestige for you?
Well, that's it exactly. It's a prestige race. So for us, it is the equivalent of the Little Brown Jug, the North America Cup, because it's it's a little bit different this year because you haven't had that knockout period where you have horses that have earned points to race in the Crock of Gold. So it's a little bit different this year, but it's still a really good crop of runners. I feel like the horses that are in there are the horses that probably would have qualified anyway. So yeah, I mean, Crock of Gold is a top class final, like you will get your Musselburgh and your Tregarron and your Appleby, but it's for your high class horses. So I feel we should have more races like this for our best horses, so that we can, because you will know as a race caller that those are the most exciting races to call, because they're all so good and also open. You know, it's not just one horse that has a good handicap and it's going to go and win. It's a really open battle.
Now tell us about your 3 chances on Saturday. You've got Joey Merrington moving up in the field.
Yeah.
You've got Mikey Camden, and you've got Tea Time Preacher.
Yeah, they're all training really good. We've had a little bit of sickness in the barn this last 3 weeks, so that's been a little bit of a worry. But they seem to be over it now. They've trained really well. Joey's never had any of it, touch wood. But they're all training really good. Joey's in the form of his life, to be fair to him. He's had, I think he's had 6 races and 5 wins, so we can't, in a second, so we can't complain at him. He's just been amazing for us this year. Mikey Camden's always really consistent, seems to get a really tough trip and a tough draw every time. And the same as for Tea Time Preacher, she's had some really tough draws, drawn 9 and off the back line and the outside in these mares races and the preferred. She's got tons of gate speed, so hopefully she can get a position for herself, and we've prepped her to really have a good shot in this race before she goes away. I really like this mare.
Well, you've got 3 big chances. They're drawn. I'm just looking now. They're drawn 3, 4, and 5. And Mikey, let's face facts. Mikey's been placed in the race. I mean, he he's always dined at the top table.
Yeah, he's super consistent. He's, I mean, he's been a great horse for us, to be fair. I know he's not Son of a Gun. Ideally, he's more of a grass horse for over here, which people may be thinking, why are we sending him to Canada? But his purse money just really suits him for the times that we think he can do over here and convert them to over there, that we think he's going to fit classes which are quite cheap for him to be starting with. So we think he should do okay early doors and possibly not progress to the level of Son of a Gun and Meticulous, but I think Colin will have enjoy training him and have a good winter with him. So hopefully he has a good race on Saturday and sets him up well for his journey. Well,
I've just been looking back at the records. Now, have I got this right? You're probably going to correct me now. You've won the Crock 4 times in the past?
Let's add Alexis. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. 4 from 6.
4 from 6. Absolutely, absolutely amazing run. I mean, Laneside Lexus started the winning run back in 2011. That was an exciting adventure that Alexis took you on.
Oh, she was an amazing mare for us. She was such a big, strong mare and could be at times really difficult to handle. The rocker might say the same about myself, really. But she took us to some great places, and we had some amazing runs with her, and then she continued her success over in Canada. And the night that she won the Crock of Gold was mind-blowing, really. She had the worst draw. She was right on the outside of what was probably the hardest. Sorry.
Where have you gone?
Yeah, I've got calls coming through. Sorry. That was probably one of the hardest Crock of Gold years, I think. We had really good horses coming through, you know, Crown Manhattan, Matador Hall, Few Dollars More. They were like big name free-for-all horses, and for her to win that race was amazing.
Oh, she was just a tremendous racehorse. So,
Bloomberg, he was in there, yeah.
you're looking for your fifth crock, and you've got a quality team going to Tir Prince, because there are other Group 1s on Saturday, and you've got Yerkes Hanover, Said to Be Sweet, and the Lion King all in Saturday's team.
Yeah, we have a good team going down. Yerkes had a bad race his last start. I don't really know. We had some blood stuck on him. He wasn't 100%, but he's. We took him and trained him last week, and he trained nice. He's come out of his training well, and we feel like he should be. Obviously, I wouldn't have entered him and raced him if I didn't think he was okay, but everyone can have a bad day, and I suppose he was just having a bad day. He's a lovely, lovely colt. Probably is one of the nicest 2-year-old colts that we've had, and just such a shame the VDM isn't on this year. Would have been nice for Roger to have been calling him, but he's a super colt. Can't really say enough good things about him. Yeah, Lion King is in great form. He doesn't really have a favourable draw. He's got 11 from 11, but he does like to race off the pace anyway, so it's not too bad for him. I suppose he will come home with a good strong run. So, and yeah, and then we finish off with the crock, which is a difficult task. Would have been better if we were drawn 1, 2, and 3 instead of 3, 4, and 5, but never mind.
Well, you've got a wonderful team going to Tir Prince at the weekend. Really looking forward to seeing them. Yerkes Hanover, Said to Be Sweet, the Lion King, and all your croc challenges. I can't help but admiring your Hall of Fame there. I love your Hall of Fame. Or
this
your
is
wall,
all.
the wall.
This is all son of a gun. I don't know if you
It's
can
all
see.
Son of a gun.
Son of a gun.
That's brilliant.
They're all his. I will never have a horse ever that has done what that horse has done. The races and the finals and the handicaps he won, he's just, he deserves that wall of fame.
Yeah, that is tremendous. Absolutely brilliant. Sarah, have you had a good look at the Tir Prince card? What horses are you looking forward to seeing on Saturday night? What would be your ideas of a few winners for Saturday night?
Well, bearing in mind that on Sunday, I think I texted you after every race on Sunday at York and told you that I'd been beaten once again. I had one winner on an 11-race card, and it was the last race. I think Calamari Brewer dug me out of a massive hole because it was getting embarrassing. Honestly, I was massively off form at the weekend. There's a couple of horses just through the cards that I wanted to keep an eye on. First race, Maiden and Novice, Comfort Zone, the 2-year-old. Dave Taft trains Stevie Leeds drives. I was really impressed with Comfort Zone at York a couple of weeks ago in a 2-year-old race when he finished second. I know he drops into Maiden and Novice company there against aged horses, but I think he's a nice little colt that I think has got a future next year as a 3-year-old. I am interested to see how he handles Tir Prince on his first start there. Whether he's in with a shout of winning it, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, Yerkes Hanover, I'd like to see Yerkes Hanover bounce back to the form we saw him earlier in the season, because he's a horse that really, really impressed me. Not to take anything away from Camelot winning at York in the 2-year-old race there, because I was pleased to see him win, but Yerkes for me had been quite a sensation earlier in the season. And although that race is only 3 horses, it's still quite a quality field of 2-year-olds as well. So that's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. We've got the Effie Mather free-for-all, the Heat 1 of the Crock of Gold, which I think is an absolutely cracking trot. The quality of the trotters in this race is absolutely incredible. Your Broadway de Bourg, Calamari Brewer is a recent winner. Diamant de Gadrell comes into it as well. And then you've got the Birdie Match. We've even got some trotters we've not seen before. I'm not even going to try and pronounce them, but Phil O'Neill takes a drive on a John Foy trotter, which could be anything. We've no idea until that horse races, where he fits into that class, or where she fits into that class, I should say. It's a mare. And then later on into the Senior Welsh Dragon, Newtown Jodie comes back off the back of setting a track record with 4-year-old mares as well. I think she is probably going to be the strong favourite in the Senior Welsh Dragon, although it is mixed company in terms of colts and geldings and fillies. And then the Anto Russell Memorial Flying Mile free-for-all. Alexis got the Lion King in this race. I have to mention Air Paparazzi. I'm a big fan of Air Paparazzis. I think the last time he raced at Tir Prince, he caught a few people by surprise. He was beaten by Frankie B, who has proved to be in really tremendous form this season, both at Tir Prince and back at York again afterwards. I think Air Paparazzi, although it is a very competitive free-for-all, I do think that the team from the northeast, the Newcastle gang, they could be in with a really, really big chance of Air Paparazzi. And they seem to quite enjoy, Darren, the way that you pronounce Air Paparazzi's name as well. You seem to make it sound very exotic when you say it.
Okay.
So, yeah, hopefully you're calling it
a Geordie accent on.
Well, you can try. You can, at the moment it sounds a bit Italian, but you can try a Geordie accent if you want. But fingers crossed you're calling that a winner anyway, because yeah, I'm a big fan of that horse.
And your idea of the Crock?
I've kind of got like heart and head sort of stuff going on. I spoke to Eric Witherspoon about this earlier on today when he asked me what I thought, and I kind of had it narrowed down to Merrington Moving Up and Rocky Mambo. I really wish that Living Star had a better draw. I know I said it at York a couple of weeks ago that I felt it was time that Living Star was dropped into free-for-all company because I felt that he wouldn't disgrace himself. You know, the Cullens have done that. They've dropped him into probably the biggest free-for-all of the season that they could find. I just wish that he got a better draw than drawn 8, because I do think that it's going to be a lot for him to overcome that draw in that company. Had he had a more favourable draw, Living Star could have been really in the mix with some of the more established free-for-allers in the country. But for me, really, Rocky Mambo and Merrington Moving Up are the kind of two main protagonists. Whether Rocky Mambo goes okay with a different driver, the change of driver is always a little bit questionable with a horse that's had the same driver for most of its career. But again, I spoke to Eric about this earlier, and Alan Richardson is a world-class driver, so I don't think that would be a massive concern for Rocky Mambo. Obviously, we've got Alexis here. I'd like to see Joey win, because there is the romantic side of me loves the story of Joey and the journey that Joey and Rocker and Alexis have been on. So if you were really going to push me, I'd like to see Merrington Moving Up win, I think.
And Alexis, tell us about the story here, because I don't know if Roger's aware of the story, and there'll be people watching and listening out there who won't be aware of the story of Merrington Moving Up.
Well, he's just a special horse to us because, like Sarah said, he lost his mum when he was 4 weeks old, and his mum died the very same day that his sister won the big Pike Hall final, back when it was for quite serious money, and several years after his mum had also won the same final. So she died that day. His sister won that day, and little Joey was left without his mother, and we hand reared him. And our other mare, Merrington Heights, she didn't have a foal, but she had a good motherly instinct, so she kept a watchful eye over him, and we fed him every 2 hours, and he's just been such an amazing horse for us. He's won the 2-year-olds at Musselburgh, Appleby. He then won the 3-year-olds at Appleby. He's won the Breeders' Crown. He's won just numerous days that he just continues to impress us and overcome the bad start that he had in life. He's just a great little horse.
It's great. Wow, that's good. The emotions are going to be running high on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Roger, he's really special.
Roger, I hope we've whet your appetite for the Crock of Gold.
You know, I would love to come over sometime and maybe even get a chance to call that one. It'd be a big thrill. One thing I want to mention, and Alexis mentioned that they're going to try and make it to the Jug one year. Rocker, bring your colors. I'll get you some drives.
I'll tell him.
And he means that. He means that. He does mean that.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't say anything he doesn't mean.
He said to me, I'll get you a call. And yeah, I've called there twice now. He does mean it.
Yeah, no, he's good to his word, is Roger.
Roger, going back to the Little Brown Jug, you know, you were saying that you've been calling the Jug since the 60s. You know, you've seen some of the greats. You've seen some of the greats of North American harness racing. just pick out a few horses, jug winners that that you think were extra special.
Not only was it the greatest jug of all time, but it was also, in my opinion, the greatest race of all time. 2015, Wiglet Jiglet, the Tig stable, Montreal and George Tig, father and son combination. The story behind coming to Delaware was even more so. The Tigs knew that they had a fan favorite in Wiglet Jiglet, and they took him almost everywhere to race. And of course, the big race was the Little Brown Jug. And they put up $45,000, the supplemental fee to get into the jug. Wiglet Jiglet was a fan favorite all over in that day in Delaware. And he was taking on one of the best horses out of the Brian Brown stable. Stable's right there at Delaware. Lost for Words. With the Buckeye in the sulky, David Miller. Wiglet Jiglet won his elimination. Lost for Words won his elimination. And thus the stage was set for what, as I said before, the greatest race in all of jug history, and maybe even in harness racing. Wiglet Jiglet had a little trouble in the first turn. His Lost for Words went to the top. And Wiglet Jiglet came to the outside before the 3/4, so he wouldn't have trouble in the turns. By the halfway point, Wiglet Jiglet had stuck his head in front, but he was still hung on the outside by Lost for Words. They had gone at it for 3/8, almost a half a mile. Toe to toe, stride for stride, nose to nose. And the battle turned into a war down the backside. Around the final turn, Lost for Words opened up by 1.25 lengths, coming off that final turn with less than 1/8 to go in Ohio. And somewhere, somehow, Wiglet Jiglet and Montreal Tig fought back in less than a 1/16 of a mile. They were still down. And in the final stride, got up to get the win over Lost for Words. It was an epic race, and that stands out as the greatest jug of all time. I've had other jugs that I thought were great as well. I had 2 horses win the jug. One was Big Bad John. In his racing career, I announced 9 races that he raced in, and he won all 9, including the Little Brown Jug. Southwind Aussie, last year, I announced 5 races that he competed in. He won all 5. So those 2 are the ones that stand out. Hot Hitter, winning the jug with Hervé Fillon. And coming back to the winner's circle, Hervé stood up in the sulky, saluting the fans at Delaware, Ohio that day, waving the whip at him, going to the winner's circle. The biggest upset ever, the great Albatross and Stan Dancer, beaten by Hervé Fillon and Nansemon in an epic battle that day. Those are just a few. But one of the other races that stand out was not a jug. It was a 6-horse open pace for a purse of $6,000. Falcon Sealster, Tom Harmer.
Say it, Roger. Say it, Roger.
If you've never been on your feet, you better stand up now. 151.
I can die happy now. Roger said that to me before at Portmarnock. Heather Wilder was there. Heather made Roger say that in front of me. That is literally my favourite line ever. Nothing can ever beat that. Fantastic.
You know, Tom Harmer told the story. I talked to him the morning of the race, and I says, how fast, what kind of fractions are you going to cut out? He told me the quarter, the half, and the three-quarter time. He got to those 3 points no more than a fifth of a second off. And then I asked him, I says, what's the final time going to be? He says, that's up to Falcon Sealster. It was a world record, 151. And the line, if you've never stood up, you better stand up now. It was not planned ahead of time. It just came out the way the whole race developed and such. But there's also been embarrassing races, not at Delaware, but I went to Australia one year. I think it was a field of 12. And that was back in the days when they had hub rails. And one of my favorite lines when the horse got locked in and couldn't get out was, so-and-so's nailed to the rail. It was usually a horse that I thought was going to win. And it was my way of saying that he doesn't have much of a shot now. I just chose the wrong horse to say that he was nailed to the rail. And you can get this on YouTube because it's an epic call in Australia. It's the Messiah nailed to the rail.
That is tremendous.
So sometimes you say things that you're not supposed to say, but it just came out. You know, I'm sorry, but it's it's on YouTube even today.
We could talk to you all night, Roger. I mean, you've got some great memories, harness racing, full stop, not just about the jug. And I suppose
wait a minute, I want to interrupt you. You were there at Delaware. What did you think of Delaware, Ohio, and the jug?
What did I think? I want to come back every year, but I can't come back every year. But no, it was very, very special. Very, very special. It's just the atmosphere, the speed of the horses. They just take my breath away. The speed they appear to be going around that tight oval. It's just everything about the day. You know, people rocking up with their picnics and their barbecues, and it's just so casual, and everyone's there to have just a fun day. It's very, very special in harness racing. The atmosphere is electric.
And believe me, let me tell you this. The day you came to Delaware and you announced races, biggest thrill of my life too, because you've been such a help to me over in Ireland. To have you come to Delaware and call a race was...
Well, thank you, Roger. That really means a lot to me. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Just going back to Wiggle It, Jiggle It, you know, you were saying about that was a great race, memorable race, but it was the horse, it was the connections. He was the people's champion, wasn't he?
Right. It's a total story too, you know, because it started early in the year, going to this track and that track and everywhere, and then they put up $45,000 to get into the race. George Tigg was not scared of 2 heats on a half-mile track, even with a horse that had trouble on a half-mile track, because he wanted to win the Little Brown Jug. And my hat's off to the Tigg family and all the connections and bringing him to Delaware for what I thought was the greatest and one of the biggest thrills of my entire life, too. George Tigg and his connections all thought he was beat at the top of the stretch. Fact is, George Tigg did not watch the final 16th of a mile. He turned his back and started to walk away with his head down until I said, "It's Wiggle It, Jiggle It! Wins the Little Brown Jug!" And that changed everything.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant. It's certainly going to be a strange experience for you next week with no crowd at the jug. It's certainly going to be different.
It'll be different at Delaware, yes, but with dwindling attendance in the state of, well, not just Ohio, but at racetracks, county fairs, and such. Believe me, I've announced with 35 people being in the grandstand at a county fair. The Meadows, the racetrack I worked at for 47 years. Except for Adios Day, the attendance was maybe 100, 150 people. And that's the state of harness racing. And I don't know how attendance is over in Great Britain and Scotland and Wales and Ireland. I think your attendance probably is a lot more than we get at some of the major racetracks in the United States and Canada. So it's going to be strange at Delaware, but just because it's Delaware.
You'll be in the zone, and it'll be about the horses, it'll be about the drivers, looking for the latest set of champions.
I think once I turn the microphone on and get there and start announcing on Sunday, it'll be Delaware. Because I'm going to do the dangest to make it Delaware.
You will make it. And Roger, I just want to ask you a question. A meeting such as the Delaware State Fair, I mean, how much preparation is involved for you going into this meeting?
Zero. Outside of maybe lining up interviews for the TV show and working on things like that behind the scenes, when it comes to the races, I don't even, the night before a race, I do handicapping because I got to give the numbers. And I write in my program all the national seasons records for that particular race, the world record, the track record, the stakes record. That takes a couple hours the night before the races. But as far as memorizing the horses or such, I don't do that. I think it's bad to look at a field and think too much about it, because when you call the race, in my opinion, it should be spontaneous. And if I expect someone to be on top or something like that and he's dead last, bound to throw you off to some degree. So I really don't study drivers and horses in that respect for races until it comes up. Of course, I also got to admit, in the States, it's a bit different than you have over there. The one horse always wears a red saddle pad. The 2 wears a blue. The 3 wears a white. The 4 wears a green. And when they went to colored saddle pads, it was to make it easier for the viewers of simulcast racing to identify their horses on the TV screen. But it also made the job in the States, at least, in Canada as well, much easier for the announcer. And so that memorization, as long as you have the ability to look through binoculars and look at your program and things like that, and doing it for 61 years, it's pretty easy. By the way, I got to mention this. So I used to spend 4 or 5 minutes prior to a race memorizing the horses, which I have to do when I'm in Ireland as well, because they're all new to me and you got to really study and go back to basics. And we were at Pompano Park in Pompano Beach, Florida, and they started to bring party groups to the announcer's booth to see the announcer call a horse race. Now, somehow, most of these party groups involved beautiful women. And you know me about beautiful women. Sarah and Alexis, just to name a couple, comes right off the top of my head. And I forgot to memorize the field. And all of a sudden, I realized when I had to call that race, I could memorize a field within the first call. And after that, I really didn't spend much time memorizing the field.
What can I say? Your Uncle Don will be proud of you.
Been a great life.
Yeah, been a great life. And now going back to you, Alexis, you know, we've spoken about Roger's typical day, the preparation. Alexis has disappeared on us again. There she is. A typical day for the Laidlers. I mean, what time of the day would it start? Say you're going racing this coming Saturday to Tir Prince. What sort of time of the day would you be out and about in the yard?
Okay, I stay at a hotel about 15 minutes from the racetrack.
Yeah.
Get up at 5:30 in the morning, shave, shower, get ready. I'm at the Delaware County Fairgrounds by 7:15. Now, post time's not until 1 o'clock or 12 noon, whatever it is that day. Monday, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but I still get there 7:15 in the morning, because at 7:30, with all the campers and the people in the barn area, a lot of them still in bed sleeping at 7:30 in the morning, believe it or not, because they partied late into the night. I turn on the PA system and say, "Good morning, Delaware." Oh, it's become a tradition. And even though it's be fewer people this year, I'll still do it this year at 7:30 every morning in Delaware. I make all the announcements in the log cabin for drivers to come to the judge's office or pay their entry fees or whatever that may be. And the entry box closes, and all drivers, trainers, caretakers, and owners must be licensed by the Ohio State Racing Commission. Get your licenses now. Do all that stuff. At about 11:30, I do my handicapping show on a radio station where I record all my choices. 12:30, we go on the air with the TV show, and I do the opening half hour with Dave Brower of the Meadowlands, that is the host on a daily basis. And usually I don't announce the first race. Jason Settlemore will do the first, because he leads up to it and does it. And then I'll take over with the second race. Usually announce 12 or 13 races, and he does the last. Races are over, go back to the log cabin. Number of people stop in to see me and stuff, and it's kind of a regular routine that I get into. Grab something to eat after the races, usually 6:30, 7:30 night. Finish that up, go back to the hotel, and spend about 2.5 hours handicapping and filling out my racing program statistic-wise. Usually get to bed by around 11, quarter to 12, somewhere in that vicinity. And then it starts all over the next morning. So it's a routine that I've followed probably now for 35, 40 years at Delaware. So once we started simulcasting as heavy as we did, and just like clockwork, and just falls into place.
Now, Alexis, when you get up in the morning, you don't sort of make an announcement, "Good morning, Rocker, good morning, stable."
No, nothing like that for us. There's not really, there's only Rocker and I here first thing on the morning, so it depends really what time the races start as to what time we get up. So it can be as early as 2 in the morning, or as late as 4:45, 5 o'clock on a race day. But Tir Prince, so Saturday, we will probably be up around about 4:30 and have breakfast, go out and feed the horses, and make sure they've all had breakfast plenty time before, because whatever horses aren't racing, the others will have to train before we leave. So we'll probably have we've got 7 runners on Saturday, so we'll have a number of horses that will need to do the fast work on Saturday morning, stables to do things like that. Then once we get off the track and all the horses are exercised, we'll have to brush up all of the horses, put the plaits, the ribbons and everything in, make sure they're all pretty and presentable to go to Tir Prince on Saturday night, which is a big thing for me. I like all of my horses to be a good representation of our stable, and I like them all to match. It's just a thing of mine. Yeah, and then we'll head off. It'll be a 4-hour drive, so we'll be 4 hours on the road before we get there. And first race will be 7 o'clock normally, Tir Prince, and we will leave there around about 10:30, 11, and get home around about just short of 24 hours before we actually got up. Well, will it be? And we'll have a couple hours in bed before we have to get up on Sunday morning and feed the horses, because they are in a routine and expect to be fed at the same time every day. So it's a hard life, but it's a life that we have chosen, a life that we love. So, and if you're going to do a job, you have to do it to the best of your ability, and that's the way we've always been.
Labour of love.
Yeah, definitely.
And regarding the driving, it'll be you and Rocker will share the driving down to North Wales on Saturday, presumably. And will you have a groom with you? Because I know Heidi works with you on a regular basis.
Oh, Heidi's been amazing. So Heidi doesn't work at home. At home I have Hannah and Freya and my nephew Brian. They work at home, and Heidi comes to the track, and she's amazing. She's a really good worker. She gets stuck in, and I couldn't do without her, really. So the same for, it's not just Rocker and myself, it's a team effort, as are all stables, and you know, we couldn't manage without them, really. We have tried in the early years, and it was extremely difficult, so it's a lot easier when you have staff to help.
Now, it's a big night Saturday night. Do you get nervous? Do you still get nervous?
I do, probably. Big races I get nervous. Rocker stays quite calm as long as you don't talk about it too much the night before. He's quite good like that, quite level-headed. But I can get a little bit where I don't sleep and I'm thinking about things, and should I have checked the bloods more? Should I have scoped them? Should I have done this? Should I, you know, I start to overthink things. Should I have done more as a trainer to prepare them, to put them on the track for that day? But normally if the horse is training well, it's eating well, it's looking good, then you have your horse ready to race, and I start to overthink things is my problem. But Rocker's quite grounded and says, you know, the horse is good and everything's good, so stop worrying.
Yeah.
But yeah, and what will be, you know. Sometimes races work out good and everything falls into place and goes perfect, and other times it's just not for you that day, so you've just got to leave it at the track and get home.
They're horse races and everything goes.
Yeah, definitely. No certainties in racing.
No. Though, Sarah Thomas, you've got a few certainties for us over the weekend. You've already given us a few tips.
Oh, tell her none of my certainties. Her certainties never win.
I jinx people.
Don't pick none of mine as certainties.
One of the horses I mentioned is a certainty. Even Air Paparazzi, we need to, because I don't want to jinx anybody's horses, because I know this is a thing, it happens, and then I feel really guilty afterwards, and people are going to start chasing me with burning torches and pitchforks and like telling me to stop picking their horses in races. Obviously I've been to the Tir Prince one, the Amman Valley card. Because I've not been to Amman Valley this year, it's been really difficult to kind of keep tabs on who's been winning and what's been happening. But I have to say that Les Smith has been posting a lot of updates with regard to like leading owner, leading trainer, leading driver, and the horses that have been winning quite frequently. So I think there's a couple of horses at Amman Valley on Sunday that, based on their form at the track already this year, are probably in with a massive chance. Kentucky Jungle Joe 4 of his last 5 starts, all at Almond Valley, are wins, and on the 5th occasion he was second. So I mean that horse appears to be in absolutely tremendous form and really enjoying racing regularly at Almond Valley. Finley Wells as well. I know she's ventured up to York a couple of times. I think she's possibly raced at Tir Prince as well. But last 2 starts at Almond Valley, both winning runs. You know, she's in the highest grade pace there, the last race of the card. But Finley Wells seems to have hit a nice bit of form with Michael Imani. Lanehouse Girl as well actually happens to be in the race with Kentucky Jungle Joe. Last 2 starts at Almond Valley, both wins. So that could be quite a competitive race. Of the other races, they've got a trot. They've actually got a really nice trot. I was really impressed with Esther Defournay on her debut in the UK at York last week for Mike Evans. I thought she was really, really impressive, finishing second. She goes to Almond Valley for the Charlie Bliss Memorial, along with Joy Delar, who was a winner at York last time out and was second the week before that. So there's a really nice trot at Almond Valley as well. It's nice to see they've actually got a couple more runners in the field as well, because a few small fields of those trotters maybe hasn't shown what the quality of trotters that will race at Almond Valley could be. And that looks like a really, really, really nice race. And then swinging violently north of the wall up into Scotland at Corbywood. Haven't gone through this with any great detail whatsoever because I'm very ill prepared. It's only Thursday. A lot of these horses have raced at the track in the previous weeks. So horses like Mainboard Hanover, Claire Fletcher sent the horse up to Alex Taylor, who Chico refers to as her second trainer. Eck Taylor, who I refer to as Wagner, off of the X Factor, just without the hair. Mainboard Hanover, 2 wins from 2 starts at Corbywood, and last week, I wasn't there to see the race, but from what I saw on the live stream, had to dig in to actually win that one and was quite impressive. So Mainboard Hanover, probably a horse to keep an eye on in the grade 1 and 2 at Corbywood. Of the other runners, Rob Hall, he goes back to his trail, I think it is. No, he doesn't. It's preferred this week, so he doesn't go back to trail. He was second by like a nose, Darren, you called it, like second by a nose, I think it was, off a 70-yard trail last week at Corbywood. This week he's back to it's preferred racing, so he's just on the second line. I think he's drawn 7, so he's 3 out on the second line. What a massive difference that makes, because Betty M's in the race as well. Betty M had a 70-yard head start off him last week. This week she's just getting that first line advantage on him. So Rob Hall, surely with the preferred draw, has to be almost a moral certainty, I'd imagine, at Corbywood. Other horses just running. There's a whack of horses that have just been racing really, really well in recent weeks at Corbywood. Crafty Dream, Dane on Vacation, and American Gigolo, all in the same race. So that makes it a competitive affair. I love the preferred races at Corbywood. I'm not going to deny that. I didn't know if I was going to make it back to Corbywood from Tir Prince, because I am actually stepping down after Tir Prince. But having seen the card, and because Chico will probably need my help with being the judge or waving a red flag or something, I'm probably going to whiz back up the M6 and get to Corbywood for Sunday. So Chico, when you watch this, don't be alarmed. I will be there.
You know, Roger, Sarah Thomas is Corbywood's biggest ambassador, and she couldn't be bothered to attend the biggest meeting of the year at Corbywood last Sunday. What did she do? She had a weekend in a hot tub and paddling in the North Sea.
Last weekend, she spent in a hot tub?
In a hot tub and paddling in the sea.
Well, guess what? I spent last weekend in a different hot tub.
I'm glad you specified it was a different one, Roger, because I was about to go along with, don't tell people what we were up to together last weekend in the hot tub.
Yeah, we'll tell everybody it was one over there, one over here, but actually we snuck away together for the weekend.
Yeah, Roger and I actually spent the weekend together in a hot tub. Just, you know, there's a big scoop for the Sulky show, Darren.
Yeah. Just because we're past the watershed now, folks. Come on, calm down. So, great weekend of racing in GB. We've got Tir Prince on Saturday, first race at 6:30. We've got Corbywood and Almond Valley on Sunday, first race at 2 o'clock. Live streaming from Tir Prince from 6:20, and there will be the Zoom live stream from Corbywood on Sunday. Ladies, have you got any more questions for the great man?
No, just lovely to hear him again, and hopefully he's back in Ireland next year.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much I want everything to be back to normal next year. When Derek called me and said that they decided to cancel this year, it was like almost the end of the world, because I look forward each year to making that trip to Dublin and calling the races at Port Marnock, and it's just become part of my life, and it's a good beginning to a month of getting ready for the jug and such, to make that trip over to Ireland. I've met so many people involved in racing, and fans as well. You guys don't know what you all mean to me, and it's just been a rough year. Yeah.
You know, you mean an awful lot to us over here in Britain and Ireland, Roger, and we really mean that with all sincerity. It's been a pleasure tonight. I really, really enjoyed this broadcast. Thank you to Sarah from, what room is that, Sarah? That's the, is that
the gym room.
Is that Smarty's lazy room, is it?
No, this is my living room, and John's been banished upstairs because he's not allowed to sit in the room when I do this. This is my living room. It's not very tidy. You're not seeing very much of it. My wall of fame is in my hall up the staircase, so that's how I've not got pictures like Alexis has got in the background. I've just got my parents' farm in a picture on the wall, which you can't quite see. But yeah, mine's at another room. I'm not taking you on a tour of my house right now because I haven't tidied it up.
But thank you very much, Alexis, for being with us tonight. We really do appreciate this, taking the time to join us, and we love your Hall of Fame. We really do.
Oh,
yeah.
No, it's been really good, and I wish Roger a very successful weekend with the jug this weekend, and hopefully Heather and Mike. I know that will mean a lot to them to win, and to Roger as well. So we'll be cheering for them on. They've been good enough to come over to here in the UK and support racing here. So we'll be supporting them this weekend.
Here, Roger. We wish you all the very best, and we thank you so much for joining us stateside today. And all we can say is have a great time in Delaware. Happy calling. And just enjoy yourself, and I hope it all goes well, and all the very best.
Well, thank you ever so much, and it has been my pleasure to be with you guys today, because it makes 2020, at least to some degree, feel a little more normal being with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you. And thanks for everyone for watching the Sulky Show this week. See you all next week. Bye-bye.